Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. Hope you guys are doing well. Happy Saturday. You guys might have seen the title for this already. So we're gonna jump right into what we're gonna talk about today, which is actually based on a bunch of rumors that's been circling around online about whether or not Xi Jinping could potentially step down in the coming months, or even, well, it depends on when they do this, but it possibly could happen. So I just want to address those rumors, whether or not he is going to step down. So basically, if you guys don't know, the way the Chinese regime works is that there's always something called a plenum. So I will share this with you in the CCP. Okay, so I'll share the screen here and then we can talk about this in more details. Okay, so there is something called a plenum in the Chinese regime. Hey, welcome everybody. I'm just reading some chat here. Gonna get honey. It's not gonna change much. Yeah, so let's talk about this. So recently we had something called the third plenum. So every Chinese sort of Congress, right, CCP Congress, we're in the 20th Party Congress right now. They have 6 plenary sessions or a plenum. And so the third one that we had, which is this summer, talks about the economic challenges and what they were going to do about that. And so supposedly after that, right now around this time, we are supposed to have something called the fourth plenum. So the fourth plenum session is yet to be determined. We don't know the date for it yet. But if the third one is talking about the economy, the fourth one is actually talking about personnel changes, party affairs. So that's why there's this rumor about how Xi Jinping could possibly step down in this fourth plenum. Okay, so this is the list here. Let me adjust it a little bit. So the first plenum talks about party personnel appointments, which is the one that we saw right away after 20th Party Congress, which was back in 2022. The second one is the following January to February. So it would be the following 2023, sometimes in the springtime. That's when they appoint the government officials, right? So basically, the party members get appointed first, then they appoint the government officials. Just reading some chat here. Foil hat conspiracy, like. Here it says, what was Xi's mandate when he became General Secretary of the CCP because he has not achieved crap? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second because he got into power because of power struggles between two different factions. Okay, so the third one, which we had was this summer, is about the economic policy and related reforms. And this was delayed too. This wasn't supposed to happen in July. It was supposed to take place somewhere in the spring as well, but they delayed it. And then fourth one is supposed to happen sometimes this around October, right? It happened in October last time, so it's supposed to happen this time. Now, what's so special about this one is actually there's a precedent in terms of party position changes, because Zhang Zemin, the former CCP leader who has died, he was named the general secretary on the fourth plenary session, or the fourth plenum. Okay, so he was actually named the top leadership on the fourth. So that's why people are speculating whether or not, by the same measure, you could remove somebody on the fourth plenum. So there's also the fifth, right? The fifth one, basically it creates like a 5-year agenda for the next session. And then the sixth one is ideological issue. This one is usually like basically setting the goal for the next 5 years. And then the seventh one is actually when they, this will happen sometimes in 2026, I believe. And that's when they will determine, what's going to happen in the next 5 years in terms of, the cycle repeats, right? Whether Xi Jinping will get reelected or not. So the reason I wanted to share this first is because it kind of sets the ground to understand the rumors that we're going to talk about today. Okay. Pu will just be replaced by someone younger, more dangerous. Possibly, yeah, it's very possible. Where's DK? Is he in here? I didn't see DK. Oh, there's DK. DK's back, everybody. Say hi to DK. Don't wear a tinfoil hat. It's aluminum. Nice, nice, nice. Um, question, where can we ask you questions? You can ask me questions here. Will she be replaced for the next president? Okay, so let's talk about that. All right, so the latest rumor says he could be replaced in the fourth plenum. What would likely happen is not like he's not gonna just randomly step down. It could happen, right? But it's not like he's gonna do that. Because you gotta remember, the way that the CCP works is they have to keep like face. They have to keep the surface level thing smooth, right? They can't just suddenly say, oh, we had this giant internal power struggle and now we're going to replace Xi Jinping. It's not going to happen like that. But the reason it could happen is because there's been a lot of, and I did a lot of videos on this too, objectively credible evidence to suggest that there's a minimization of Xi Jinping's ideological slogans. And to me, that is a direct signal that Xi Jinping has been put under tremendous pressure by his opponents, possibly even suffering power loss in the process, right? I talked about the potential of him losing the military control, which is a big one. Essentially, that's the only thing that keeps him in total power, right? Okay, so we're going to jump ahead a little bit because this kind of answers the long question why I think there could be things happening. Is this latest article from the Chinese regime. So this was something that was held in Beijing on the 28th. Is the Political Bureau of the CCP held a meeting to review the comprehensive report on the third round of inspections of the 20th Central Committee. Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the CCP Central Committee, presided over the meeting. Okay, so in this meeting, there's one thing that's really weird, and I'll point that out, is that there's no mention of Xi Jinping's key slogan, which is the new era, right? So anytime Xi Jinping talks about his ideology, it always comes something like something Xi Jinping's new era, modernization or whatever. Not a single time in this entire article does it mention new era at all. You can go. I'll post the link in the chat so you can go check it out. But not once. You have to use Google Translate, by the way. But yeah. So if you do want to look at this, there's not a single link or a single word that talks about what's happening with the new era. Okay, so that's a really weird thing. And also there's a minimization of his slogans. So there's like obviously it still talks about Xi Jinping as the core of the party, but it kind of doesn't mention all the things he said before, like socialism with Chinese characteristics, Xi Jinping's thoughts in the new era, things that like the modernization of China under like the new, I believe it's called the core values of Xi's modernization in China or something like that. None of it's being talked about here, even though this is a comprehensive reporting for this 20th Party Committee, right, which we talked about. And so clearly something's different. Xi Jinping is definitely not the same man he was before this, before the third plenum, which happened this summer. Now, it could be health issues, it could be anything else. So going back to talking about what's going to happen in the fourth plenum, which we still don't know when it's happening, but if it does happen soon, what likely could happen is, I think, 2 or 3 ways. The first one is Xi has announced that he's going to finish his 5 years term, right? So he was, quote unquote, re-elected in 2022. So his 5 years will end in 2027. So a good question from Beppis Man says, maybe trying to change some of his own ideas to stay in power. Yeah, so I'll talk about that next because that's one of the key factors here, okay? So, and then from Trigger says, is he willingly stepping down? Yeah, so what's going to happen is he won't be willingly stepping down. He's going to be forced to step down. So one of the first reasons he could step down is after the 5 years, he's too old or health reasons, whatever. In 2027, he won't run for re-election. So he does, that kind of retirement. The second way is that he's immediately going to step down due to health reasons, which I don't honestly think it's going to happen. The third one is that he will, nothing gets announced. He will continue to be the general secretary of the party and, things kind of go back to normal, but there will be some personnel changes. I think, if he was announced that he's stepping down immediately or that he's not going to run for the re-election in 2027, it already declares to the world that something big happened in the CCP, right? That means the faction war has, gone to the most heated moment. Because what's going to happen when Xi loses power is that all members of his faction are not going to be in power anymore, right? So that leaves 7 seats open in the, the Politburo Standing Committee, which is this little circle of people that runs the whole country. All of the other factions are going to try to fight over those positions. So you're not going to see a peaceful transfer of power. Even if Xi Jinping goes down, it's not like people are just going to be like, oh, we're so ready to do a collective partnership. We're going to work together to make China better. No, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be a really tough battle between the different factions, and people are going to fight to the death to try to get their, seat into the Politburo Standing Committee, right? Who's going to be the next general secretary? Who's going to be the next, premier? All of these things, like they're going to fight to the death for those positions. So that's why I'll read you this article today, which is I find pretty interesting. So this is from the South China Morning Post, and it says, from Zhu Rongji to Wang Qishan, reigns pass at a back channel of diplomacy. Okay, so this article comes from the South China Morning Post. It says, former Vice President Wang Qishan becomes honorary chair of Tsinghua University Advisory Board chaired by Apple's Tim Cook. So this is like one of their, pretty important. Tsinghua University is like #1 in China, a very important advisory board, okay? So who are these people? All right, so the former Chinese Vice President Wang Qishan is this guy, this skull, like skull head looking guy. He looks like he's like so skinny, he's almost about to, turn into a skull. Anyway, so he is Wang Qishan. So this guy, he retired already, but he was like a big loyal ally of Xi Jinping. So he's taking over. And then he replaced the ex-premier Zhu Rongji, who, by the way, is the person that's actually responsible for creating the vision of China's reform and opening up. And that actually helped China get its economic prosperity over the last 20 years. So there were rumors that these two people, one had been arrested, the other had died. It turns out neither of the rumors were true. Just a guy says, I'm watching in my TV and chatting on my phone, but they do not synchronize because there's 2 different live streams. Question, what change if he stepped down is going to be the same as last time? Well, nothing's going to really change unless, honestly, I don't see this happening in the less than 1% chance that those people that are still in power decides that they're going to turn this into a democracy. Right? Less than 1% chance of that happening. But let's just say that happens. It's going to be such a dramatic change. Like it's going to, that's just, like it will make the world blow up. Because, because remember right now, right? Xi Jinping is in this so, totalitarian, extreme, this, I don't know what to describe it, like axis of evil type of situation with Russia, with Iran, North Korea, right? Imagine what happens if China suddenly becomes a democracy. Like they're just like, okay, we're going to abandon everything we did before, screw the CCP, we're going to create something new. That not only is Russia, Iran, and North Korea done for, but that literally just solves all of the big issues around the world, right? So like that, when that happens, that's going to be like, impossible to comprehend for a lot of us. So I think it's just, they won't take it that far, or at least maybe not yet. So conservatively, I'll estimate that, or I guess not estimate's not the right word, predict what will happen to, the 4th plenum or even the next 5 years is that Xi Jinping likely will step down at the end of his 3rd term. Obviously, if something happens bigger, then, that's a whole different story. Even Deng had some checks and balances with first Marshal Ye, then Chen Yun. So is this confirmed or is this a rumor? I'm just addressing the rumors, okay? I'm not trying to spread the rumors, I'm addressing them, whether they're credible or not. Where were we? Okay, so what the objective is right now for the CCP is that I and many others believe something big has happened. We're just not being told because it's too dramatic. Something I personally think along the lines of Xi losing power. It's just, you cannot suddenly shock the world with the fact that this guy who, it's like he's the straw man or he's so centralized in his power, he suddenly just goes down or he retires or something like that. So I think it won't be that dramatic. But what we're going to see in the next plenum session, which I hope happens soon, maybe it will happen in like 2 months or so, is that we'll see something that's worth analyzing. I don't think that they're going to keep everything in the same order because it's not how the CCP works. But yeah, so there's that. Be careful what you say, brother. Making fun of the CCP member. I hope you're not in China posting these videos and whatnot. Just be careful. Yeah, I'm not in China. Opinions on the last video from Bald and Bankrupt about China. Bald and Bankrupt. Bald and Bankrupt. Let's see.
The Darien Gap, considered the
Utopia or dystopia? Investigated. So is this guy in China? So he has my video actually. Let's watch this.
Good evening from Hanoi Railway Station.
So he's going to China, I assume?
Decided BRICS nation as a futuristic utopia, and the others that were like crumbling bricks and buildings and restaurants serving sewer water. When I decided I'd head to the Middle Kingdom to see for myself exactly what was happening, took me by surprise.
Okay.
So he's still in Vietnam right now.
Where the hell do I go? Some money. The money changing.
Where does he go to?
Shit.
There he is.
In London. I like
He's
China.
in China
I
now.
decided I like China. 我爱中国。你好。一个昆明。
一个。
一个。
您好，您是不是已经买了一张票了？
Alipay scan. I'm going to be showing my passport a lot on this trip.
Sorry, I'm just trying to skip to a part where it looks interesting.
The amount of tunnels and bridges and construction works we're speeding through on our way to Kunming is incredible. And it does make you question just how China can achieve such feats of engineering seemingly overnight, whilst Britain has been waiting decades just for a high-speed rail network.
Okay, so obviously this argument, how China is able to achieve that overnight, cheap labor, insanely low labor cost, a lot of competition when it comes to people getting hired. There's literally hundreds of people lining up to do this job if others don't want to take it. When they get injured and things like that, they don't really get basic medical security. So a lot of them actually just end up, suffering from those injuries for life, or otherwise they have to dish out hundreds of thousands of yuan to pay for those injuries. And the government funds infrastructure. So every single government in China for like 20 years used infrastructure creation as a form of making profit. And they're so-called stimulating, this GDP, right? Because you're constantly building infrastructure. So they built a lot of bridges and roads. Yeah, that was very fast because there was profit to be made, there was cheaper labor, and a lot of it is now breaking down because of Tova drag.
To make you feel like one of the Chinese proletariat. Let's go look for a hotel. Small map, thank you. Oh, 2 maps. 2 maps I can't read or understand, thank you. Viper interests. Empire. Let's go inside and look around. Theme.
So he went into this amusement park?
The dwarf would hang out and live in. Let's go and see our first dwarf. Is this exploitative? I don't know. Well, like in all fairy tales, you have to follow a magical path through the forest. This is based...
So he's in some like midget kingdom type of vibe?
Ming, and let's check out the bathroom. Little toilet that lifts up. It knows when you want to do a crap. And a shower. Well, good morning from the very impressive, once again, has to be said, Kunming Railway Station, which actually has a very macabre history. It was in 2014 that 31 people were stabbed to death in this station by Uyghur separatists. Largest country in the world, China.
Okay, so this guy is obviously speaking on behalf of the CCP. He goes to he does the same thing as, all these other ones who run into railway stations or train stations and be like, oh, look how advanced China is. Oh yeah, this is great. Look, America or Britain doesn't have such a nice modern train hall. and things like that. It's the typical stuff.
And one of those scripts up there behind me. If the West thinks it's ever catching up with this nation, it's having a laugh.
Yes, okay, he takes the high-speed train.
Chongqing.
Train.
Show the English address to someone. Hello. Don't think that's the person who's going to help us. Oh my God. Right. God knows what you do if there's a fire here. So you're going to have like different businesses and work to do things like this.
Okay, well, this whole video, I just skimmed through. Maybe I missed some parts, but my overall impression is that he doesn't go into any part of the city that's not touristy. He goes into a train hall where clearly, you know, I showed you one in the United States that also looks pretty good. So none of this stuff is like justifying any of the points that we make here, right? It's like, oh, David Zhang is becoming a React channel. It's like, oh, you know, all these things are bad, okay. And he, you know, videos like this, they go into a train hall, they go into a bridge, they look at some like subway hanging off the sky, all those things. None of that justifies all the problems that we've been raising, right? Because China, yeah, is a big country, people are pretty friendly, but you also have inherently problematic situations like tofu drag, gutter oil, you know, you have poisonous food, toxic stuff, right? I don't understand how this kind of video is supposed to justify that this is China, you know, it's not as what you Westerners think. It's a great country. You know, it doesn't make sense. China is so clean and pretty, no litter or homeless people. Such a great country. I should move to China. Oh, man. Just agreed to border talks. Bald and bankrupt goes to dangerous places. Can he? I saw news that Xi Jinping's daughter already arrived in New York City. He met his bald dwarf brother there. Oh, man. Just trolling. This feels like propaganda in disguise. It is. It's like, so basically, okay, I'm not going to go out and make enemies by saying this guy's channel is pure CCP propaganda, but, you know, I'll show you a video, actually. Show you a video. This is pretty interesting, and I just found out. Tim Pool, oh, maybe it's not. Actually, let me pull this up. I think it was... I have this video that I saw. It's from Tim Pool, but I have to find it first. Give me a sec. Da, 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 da. Where is it? In the meantime, while I'm trying to find this video, I want to give you guys a... if you guys want to support the channel, head to davidzhang.net and check out some of my merch if you're interested. We're trying to plan for some Christmas stuff, by the way. If you guys have any suggestions for some new merch items, let me know in the comments as well. Man, somebody sent me this too, and I totally don't remember where it went. Gosh, my mind is blanking. Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember now. There we go. It's here.
From the post-millennial.
Represented.
Okay.
$200 to post this video to your YouTube.
All right, so here's Tim Pool. So they were talking about, I think this is a snippet from when they had talked about Tim Walz or something like that. But, so, you guys know the CCP goes around, pays YouTuber, right? Here's Tim Pool's experience.
Lecture, who sometimes I can't take it, but I've said some things about China that aren't correct, and sometimes I feel bad about that. And I don't know about them making slaves build highways, but I think that they don't search that book in like Tibet and fuck ruthlessly, I've heard.
This is China.
Here.
If you go to New York, Falun Gong people are handing out flyers and stuff. And then it was really funny because China started hiring YouTubers They offered, I'm pretty sure I got offered this at some point. I got an email where they were like, we'll give you $200 to post this video to your YouTube channel. And then I looked at the video and it was a guy being like, these really weird people, Falun Gong, like, what's this about? And then it was like a mini doc that was like 5 to 10 minutes long from some white dude complaining about this group. And I'm like, I ain't posting that to my channel. What is this? But a lot of people were like, $200, I'll take it. It's just a commercial, right? And I'm like, no way, dude.
I read the romantic.
Okay, so Tim Pool got approached by, I'm pretty sure this is when he just started YouTube, right? So, but if you ever watched him cast, you know, like he's got a pretty hard stance on the CCP, right? But yeah, so YouTubers actually get approached by the CCP to, you know, I'll offer you $200. Like, why not? You know, if you have nothing to lose and it's like a travel blog, you can just go to China, you get your, you know, few $1,000s. I'm not saying this guy did get money. I'm just saying in general that happens. And you make a video, right? You talk about these points. You go to this place, you sightsee this area, you film this and that, and they get paid. So why not? A lot of times that's what happens with these travel blogs. Microphone is a little weird quiet. Is it? Seems okay to me. They had a gun on him behind the camera. It's a great vlog. He's genuinely impressed because in the UK, all the train stations are rubbish, trains are late, and have your mobile snatched outside the stations. His VPN sponsored chat was, oh really? The vid is very quiet. Should I replay it again? I can replay it again, but louder.
From the Post-Millennial, Tim Waltz invited CCP officials into his Nebraska classroom when he was a teacher. Wow, this just keeps getting worse for the guy.
On Twitter, apparently we're.
So it's
Oh,
about
that's
here.
who did it. Okay.
Yeah, if you go to New York, Falun Gong people are handing out flyers and stuff. And then it was really funny because China started hiring YouTubers. They offered, I'm pretty sure I got offered this at some point. I got an email where they were like, we'll give you $200 to post this video to your YouTube channel. And then I looked at the video and it was a guy being like, these really weird people, Falun Gong, like, what's this about? And then it was like a mini doc that was like 5 to 10 minutes long from some white dude complaining about this group. And I'm like, I ain't posting that to my channel. What is this? But a lot of people were like, $200, I'll take it. It's just a commercial, right? And I'm like, no way, dude.
Yeah, so he got offered $200 to post a video about Falun Gong. So the CCP hates Falun Gong, right? They defame Falun Gong all the time. And people just like, you know, you get approached, they're like, I'll pay $200, or maybe in the case like $1,000 here and there. And you know, you take those money if you're just starting, right? If you're a small YouTuber, or even if you know you're treating it like it's a sponsorship from the Chinese government. I doubt Bald is getting paid by the CCP. He rich guy himself. It'd be tens of thousands of dollars for Bald to even consider the offer. Yeah, it's true. So a lot of them, they actually, they like, I'm not saying this guy is propaganda, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. They get, you know, it's a good opportunity because a lot of times like they're like, come to China, do a video here or whatnot. But they don't, like, it doesn't get to the core of the argument that we're trying to make, right? The core of the argument is the fact that whatever they're showcasing doesn't like, it's not a rebuttal to what we're saying, which is very interesting. The chat is pretty delayed on your end. Is it? Sometimes I don't know if the chat is in real time because the video is as like our live stream is a little delayed, right? I think by like 5 seconds. Subtitles would be nice. Misread your title and literally thought she was stepping down. Well, I think Xi Jinping will eventually step down. It might come much faster. His mate, Backpacker Ben, who was there at the same time, is also a great watch. He's complete baffled of the place. Interesting. Because, like, you know, him going to Midget Kingdom, or him going to a train station, or him going to see a subway station, or like a floating, you know, sky train, it doesn't, like, you know, in what world would that justify anything about the country, right? You know, you're not gonna you're not gonna run into the police if you're not a journalist from, you know, BBC or, you know, in the case of CNN, they got followed, right? Because you're actually there to expose the thing. You know, if you're not there to film Tiananmen Square, they're not gonna come after you. That's why I keep saying when people ask me, should I go to China and stuff, I'm like, yeah, you can go. Like, you're not gonna get in trouble if all you're doing is, you know, climbing a mountain or sightseeing. You will get in trouble if you start to touch, you know, some of their sensitive spots, right? Someone had a comment about, while I agree with you, your criticisms of the Chinese government, why don't you criticize U.S. when they do the same thing? Well, I don't, my channel is about China, so there's plenty of people who criticize the U.S. I don't think I need to do any more of that because that's not what the channel's for. Who will take his position if he steps down? That's a big question. That's the million-dollar question, because right now there's a lot of different factions who are trying to argue that they should come into power, right? So this article that I'm showing you right now here from Zhu Rongji to Wang Qishan is a prime example of this, because it's like suddenly all these people who have retired start to get more active. You know, the sons of this guy started to get more active. You know, like you start to see random names start to pop up, like this guy's getting this job, this guy's going to there. All these different names start to show up, where before, like for 3-4 years, right? After after the zero COVID lockdown, 2020 till now, you haven't been hearing much about all these other people. There was even a story from Nikkei Asia, like I think last year or even earlier this year, about how she has all the party elders on watch, like all of their securities and stuff are Xi Jinping's people. Like, so for a very long time, that's why I'm saying something dramatic happened in the CCP. For a very long time, these people were carefully watched by Xi's people. They weren't allowed to do anything, right? They couldn't conspire to start a coup or something like that. But then suddenly something happened this summer, and now all these people start to pop up again, like popcorn. Pretty interesting. Question. Conquering southern China and conquering northern China are worth watching if you want to see all over regular China. I mean, they don't know how the PRC students voted, not counted. Why would he step down? Well, he would step down because he's no longer in control. Here in the Philippines, there are tons of influencers paid for being a pro-China propagandist left and right. Sad to think there's still people toying with money. You should make a video about Yunnan University. I studied there and they were the most corrupt place I've ever studied. Oh, wow. I can't believe you went there. Yunnan is a very remote place. Could it be that she is moving to Mexico or Africa? I mean, all business. I don't know. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I have criticisms of the U.S. government. I mean, you can freely criticize any government you want. I don't think that's... I might get handcuffed by CCP police if I wear Christmas merch, David. Yeah. Well, if they do push him out, he will not step down voluntarily about it. He will hold teeth and nails. Maybe they find somebody younger, like somebody who is under 60. Yeah, I just... The thing right now is there's too many factors at play, and none of them is... So before, right, everything was still kind of transparent. Now it's just everything's in a black box. Everything's so opaque. You can't see through it. Does Trump have something to do with it if... I don't know. Hello, David. Hello. Basing something off of small era is bad. Like, imagine rich people who only go to Vegas Strip or high rises in New York. They would think they were all like that. Small town USA is a whole different thing. Yeah, it's true. Like, you know, that's why the reason I post the videos that I do is because I know these things happen in China. Like, I lived in China, right? And these are not new problems. They've persisted for 20, 30 years. It's just, to my surprise, they still haven't solved any of these problems. For one, they don't want to solve them. For two, they just can't solve them because it's a systematic, it's a systemic problem, but it's a systematic, how would you put it? Like, it's something that's being controlled systematically because it benefits certain numbers of people, right? So it's easier to do things when the society is corrupt and hard to manage. But if you know, like, if you're worse than corruption, if you're worse than criminality, if you're worse than the law can defend, right? Then you're like the baddest of the baddest. And that's what the CCP is. So they're above the law, right? They're above the criminals, right? All these things, because they are the biggest criminal organization. So they can do a lot of these things. The more corrupt the society is, the more focused on, you know, things like materialistic gains, the less they care about, you know, are we being ruled by a totalitarian regime? Because, you know, those oligarchs, they don't really care about overthrowing Putin, right? They just want to make their money. Same thing in China. The people that make money any way, shape, or form, I mean, they got the money outside of China. They go live in, you know, mega mansions in LA or something. They don't care. It's the people that actually live in China that would suffer. If Zhu Rongji replaced Xi, would China pivot towards reform or stay in the course? Well, Zhu Rongji won't replace him because Zhu Rongji is like 93 years old. It'd be something like like a protege of Zhu or something like that. U.S. doesn't want anyone to get ahead of them, and China visibly, at least, is the closest to that. Overlooking the disparities, so comes BRICS together to stand in front of NATO, that's the issue. But if you really examine the reality, China was trying to catch up to the United States, right? And yeah, sure, there was the trade war, and then there was the afterwards. But look what happens to China now. China now, today, is not in a position to be number 2. And you have India on the come up. Like India is rapidly beating China in a lot of these areas, like population growth. Literacy, English literacy is huge, right? The ability to speak English. It's where China was 30 years ago. So China is a declining nation, unfortunately, because the people are suffering. But it's true. And BRICS really has not done anything concrete in like the last, 3-4 years it's been out. She's going to start in Disney's live action. Do you think if someone younger is chosen, the problem that exists now will be solved? It depends. Like I don't want to say something that would add credit to the CCP. In the rare chance that they reform to politically, that is, right? Not economic reform. Political reform, like getting rid of the CCP. It could happen, but really it's not something that I would put like a hope on that it's going to happen very soon. Is China doomed to fall for this? I have 2 live streams going on my channel at the same time. Yeah, one is vertical and one is horizontal. So that's the difference. Actually, it reminds me, let me check if this one is a short stream or not. Because sometimes they like to play games, YouTube, that is, and they don't give me the proper live stream thing. Let's see here. One is vertical. Okay, this is, okay, it's good. It's much worse than that. India has always had the most amount of English speakers, it's not something new. No, I'm just listing some of the qualities that make India a very competitive alternative. What do you think about the CCP in relation to Taiwan? What do you mean by the relation? Like, they're not really, like the CCP wants to take over Taiwan for sure. Is China still safe to travel to for the holidays? Yeah, I mean, if you're just doing a regular travel, there's no reason not to. Not China related, but what do you think about North Korea's most recent militaristic actions? So here's what I think. I think that North Korea, Kim Jong-un that is doing this independent of consultation with Xi Jinping. I've read a lot of other scholars who believe that this is a consultation with Xi Jinping, therefore is something that was done on top of that. But I personally think Kim Jong-un is capable of doing things independently of Xi Jinping. Because if you really think about it, he's getting paid a lot of money to send like 20,000 or 30,000 people to fight in Ukraine. That's a lot of money for him. The people, the population in North Korea, it's expendable, right? It's cannon fodder, so it doesn't matter to him. But he gets money in the process. Because I feel like I'm the type of person to believe that, or I wouldn't say the type of person, I guess you would say the side that believes in North Korea could be, like you could drive a wedge between North Korea and the CCP, right? I think I'm along those lines. Because I mean, you've seen a little bit of that during the Trump administration. So I'm not on the doomer side where I think that North Korea is something that needs to be defeated, right? I personally think they're very opportunistic or very realistic when it comes to who they want to work with. Because like even going back to the 1950s during the Korean War, North Korea, like they want something out of China, right? They want, like Mao wanted to spend his effort to attack Taiwan, but then Kim Il-sung was like, no, we're gonna launch the Korean War. Like the Kim family is all about opportunities, right? So guess what happens? Mao has to send a bunch of people to North Korea to defend against the Americans. And every time to me, it seems like that they're trying to, gain something from one side. They're always trying to bargain with the other side too. And the CCP knows that like they need North Korea, right? Because if you let North Korea get closer to the United States, that's really bad because North Korea is right next to China. And so I really think that they're more about opportunities to work with anybody than loyalty to the CCP. So I don't think there's a consultation there needed. North Korea has shown they're willing to talk about with the right approach and deal, think how they want this country to just get rich somehow badly. Yeah, I'm not trying to whitewash Kim Jong-un, right? I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm just saying that he's willing to work with whoever gives him money or benefits. It's weird how China constantly vilifies the U.S. but forget that the U.S. has helped them and was the first major country to send manufacturing there to start its economic growth. It's such a hypocrisy, you know, because the United States is really the one that made China rich. Like without the U.S., China would be nothing right now. Why can't people just be nice and normal? Why is everything so Twilight Zone? You know, that's life. Did you see that massive documentary on North Korean entertainment? YouTubers spent 18 months on it. No, I have not seen that. Maybe I'll go watch it after. So I personally think that same thing with Iran as well. Like it might be a very controversial opinion, but I think Iran is also very opportunistic. I can't say that word apparently. Because really think about it, right? Iran and North Korea, they're not global powers. They're regional powers. And what North Korea really wants is just preserving the Kim's family power. And Iran, same thing. Ayatollah just wants to preserve his little like power, right? They know that they can't beat Israel. They know that they can't do anything. But they want to extract some of the benefits from China, right? And I think obviously Iran is a little bit more extreme because like they're funding a lot of these terrorist activities in the region through China's funding, right? So there's a little bit of difference there, but I think they're still very much about preserving power rather than, you know, feeding into this whole idea with China and Russia is different because China and Russia, they're all about this taking over the world, you know, alternative world order, this idea, right? But I think Iran and North Korea are just about, you know, preserving their own power. North Korea is such a wild country. The stories you hear that the North Korean people think modern medicine is magic from the great leader. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how you can make somebody so brainwashed, right? When you cut off access to information. Please answer my question. Can China really control the world economy even after its internal economic collapse? So many corruption cases are unfolding from its military purchase. No, they can't control the world economy. For sure not. No. What's the word on Hong Kong and the concentration camps near where they filmed Mulan? I don't know what... It's a very generic question, so I'm not so sure exactly what you want me to answer, but I'll try to answer what you mean. So the word on Hong Kong is no longer a jewel of Asia. It's just a regular old city in China. And what about the concentration camps near filming of Mulan? I think you're talking about the Uyghur concentration camps. They exist, and then they're still holding people in there. The North Korea video is by paper on YouTube. It's like 5 hours long. Oh my God. I just read the video title, Am I in a Fever Dream? No, I'm trying to highlight the fact that Xi Jinping is going to step down, but it might not happen as fast as you think. Jake, I already answered that question. Question here, you're like Navalny of China. No, I'm not the official opposition. Please answer my question. I already answered that. Diddy loves China. Is this the end game of Xi's autocratic empire? I think so. I think it's the end of Xi's empire, but it doesn't necessarily mean the end of the CCP. So, okay, a little bit of a sort of a history lesson for you guys too. And I mean, it kind of goes into the whole talk about how, you know, each iteration of the regime really does this thing, right? So for example, Mao was all about Stalin, like Stalinization, right? Mao and Xi are all about the Stalinization, which is, you know, brutal, effective in the sense that they get things done, but the problem was Mao thought that, you know, what happened in 1917 in Russia could happen in 1949 or 1950 in China, which clearly it turned out to be different because he didn't have a clue what he was doing. He was copying Stalin, but he didn't know what he was doing, right? And then when Deng Xiaoping came into power, he started this whole reform opening up. But his whole idea was that he doesn't, like, you got to remember, none of the Chinese leadership really understands economy, right? None except for like maybe two people. One of them is Zhu Rongji, which is the old guy I was just talking about. He actually knew how to run the country. Even people who are like in the reformers sort of faction, like Zhao Ziyang and Hu Yaobang, right? Those people, the people that Deng Xiaoping later, you know, purged from the party, even they didn't understand really how political and economic reforms worked. Because, you know, they were actually afraid of it, right? Deng Xiaoping in particular was afraid of political reform. That's why he's, you know, the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre happened, because he was afraid he was going to lose power if the students keep protesting. But anyways, so fast forward to like the late 1990s, right? China ascends to WTO, or early 2000s. And Zhu Rongji, the guy who I was talking about, he was the person that was at the forefront of growing China's economy. Without Zhu Rongji, you know, China wouldn't be what it was. Because Zhu, guess what happened? He helped China survive the I can't remember the exact date of it. But he helped China survive the like getting into the WTO, and then the first wave of growth to I think 2007 or 2006. And then, you know, obviously rest of the world, they had the financial crisis of 2008. China didn't. The second person that was key in helping them do that was another premier after him. So these two guys, they really helped China get two major crises out of the way so that China can grow. Because without these two people, the CCP would have been, you know, pretty much done. Because you wouldn't have seen the golden decades after that. Obviously, when Xi came into power in 2012, everything started to change, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, so at the end of the day, like, nobody in the CCP really knows how to make things work economically, and nobody in Xi's administration right now can handle the economy. So like, don't ever hold your wish up about China's economy going back to normal. It's never gonna happen. Not if Xi steps down, right? It's just gonna, like, nothing's gonna change if these people are still in power. You might see a little bit, actually, let me take that back. You might see a little bit of change, but that indication to me, it means that she's no longer in control. So I think a lot of signs point to that things are changing. Linux Dev says, yeah, good content. Thank you very much. Thanks for the $5. P. Diddy and Kim are close friends. I don't know. I love your content, dude. Had a question about you. If you're comfortable answering it. Are you in China now? I'm not in China now, no. I learned so much about China from Polymatter's YouTube channel. Great. Do you believe that North Korea would be willing to change it with its leader still in power? Would it take a natural death of its leader to have a chance to change? Any foul play would have negative. I don't think North Korea is going to change unless something dramatic happens. I just discovered your channel, and I would like to know if you're Chinese or Taiwanese. Is everything you denounce tofu drug construction isolated cases, or it's generally in China? I'm Chinese. The stuff I talk about is widely spread around China. My latest video, go watch it. I put like 11 or 12 different protests. Half of them happened because of issues with buildings. She was in the freak-offs. From Nelly, thanks for the $10. Thank you. I love you. Do you love me too? I guess I love you too. If she steps down, who steps up? Somebody will, and somebody that's really not the same as she is. Somebody has to be so different. Have you been eating well, David? Yeah, I've been eating great. Thanks for asking. How about yourself? Is there any group or site that is tracking Chinese government affiliated purchases in the US? Nah, I don't think so. I agree you have great content. Do you ever experience CCP honeypot attempts or harassment from the CCP? Surprisingly not. I'm actually kind of shocked that they have not tried to do something. I don't wish it on me, but who do you think will be Xi's successor? I personally don't know, actually. There's too many. I don't even think the CCP officials know. They're really confused too. If you love them, will you also love me as well? Yeah, I love everybody. Yeah, I'll love you all the same. I live in a tofu drag apartment. I went to clean mold off my wall, and the next thing I know, my whole wall facade crumbled, and I left, luckily, with a blank cement wall. Well, is that actually your experience? That's crazy. If I want to visit China, will they look at things on my social media criticizing the CCP? I understand from the news that if you go to Hong Kong, they can check your phone. Bro is talking about Chinese bathrooms. Hype Chinese culture, stop down, talk about China's content. I don't understand what that means. In your opinion, if there's a reformation of the Chinese government, do you have any idea what ideology will go with socialism, capitalism? I think, like, how dramatic were you talking about? If it's a complete overhaul, I don't think it will be communism anymore or socialism. If it's just like a halfway, thing, then they're still going to maintain the system. Do you think freedom aspect of Bitcoin would dissolve controlling governments like China? I don't know anything about Bitcoin. Never interested me. As I've been covering Typhoon Konrei, I have to say I haven't heard about any blown out windows in Taiwan, even though they were stronger than the ones made landfall over China. Yeah, because Chinese construction is just all tofu drag projects. Thoughts on Tim Wall's relationship with China? Past relationships, honestly, like at this point, their personal relationships, people may not like this when I say it, but look at Biden. Hunter Biden's dealing with China, right? Joe Biden's dealing with China. It has not affected the overall US approach to China. So whatever personal thing that they were doing, at least it didn't affect the trend of dealing with China. So that's all I can say. Whether or not Tim Walz really has a huge relationship with China, I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe Biden does too. But they've been pretty tough on China. Not as tough as Trump, but pretty tough. What about Senior Lieutenant General Zhang Youxia, Vice Chair? So I personally believe Zhang Youxia is in control of the military right now. What if the whole country cosplays as Winnie the Pooh, like billions of people? Yeah, you have to mobilize them. You have to give them some the reason for it. He visits China pretty often. Yeah, like, look, a lot of people have visited China, right? Even Trump's daughter had this like business thing with China. I'm sure people did business with China before. Like look, you got to look at this like. Sure, things happen to Biden, Tim Walz, right? Whoever, that's before this fundamental shift happened, right? 2016 changed the US-China relationship. So things after that, like whatever they were doing before, possibly it could, it's criminal, possibly if they were selling the country, who knows, right? All those things are very possible. But just look at what they're doing now. If they're not selling out the country to China like they were doing in the Obama era, then that's fine, right? Because I'm sure a lot of these people have dealings with China, like definitely, for sure. Is the Chinese military still in state of despair, or do you think everything has gotten better recently? No, I think it's getting worse. You just got here. Can we get an update? You can go back to the beginning of the live stream. Trigger woman, peaceful rest, take care. I don't know what that means. Why is religion such a threat in China? Great question. Because religion teaches people to not worship the party. And if you don't worship the party, how would you believe their lies? You don't. And then they lose control. That's why religion is problematic. So John, top of army in the driving seat of the tank. Yep. Hey David, I just want to say I really appreciate you keeping your finger on the pulse and keeping us all informed. Love from Australia. Hey, thanks from up here to you from down under. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh my God, I have a story about. I have a story to tell. Okay, so I didn't understand what down under meant for a very long time. I went to Las Vegas one time to attend a friend's wedding. And in the airport, they have all these signs, right, for, different performances, MGM and whatever. And there was like this like Magic Mike looking poster, right? But it kept saying like guys from down under or something like that. So before I was told that it meant Australian guys. I thought it was something about like these guys came back from the dead or something like that. So I was like, why are these shirtless dudes performing like just revived from the dead? I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. And then I realized later that down under, it meant it meant people from Australia. Question, why did you leave Epoch Times? I worked there briefly and I just didn't think, I wanted to do something else. And so I left and I started my own thing. Why China is helping Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and many other poor countries? Because they want to use these countries for their resources, locations, access, all of these things. It's essentially a modern version of colonization. Shirtless male zombie strippers, yeah. That's exactly what I thought. I was saying good night to a kind Filipino who said bye to me. Oh, I see, okay. I think the quality from everything around the world is getting worse. I'm here from Germany, and everyone complains that since the company outsources to China for parts of it. Yeah, it's crazy. Like you see the quality of things decrease. Even some of the stuff that's no longer made in China are still really bad because some of the parts are still sourced from China. It's pretty crazy. You explain government and politics well. Have you thought about making a series theorizing an ideal government and watch how they? No, I'm too dumb for that. My brain cannot handle all the theoretical stuff. Yeah, like honestly, so I read a lot of these DC think tank people's books, right? And I'm not that impressed with the ideas in the books because you hear these ideas a lot, right? But I'm very impressed with how they're able to organize that into a book. Like if it were me, I'd probably lose my entire like set of brain cells that I have trying to organize ideas into a book. I just think it's very difficult. Like I can say stuff out, but it's hard for me to say I want to organize this into a series or whatever. Like I'll give up after one. Oh man. If Trump does enact 20% tariffs, do you think China will stop selling to the US or at least dampen the amount of trade? Well, China, I think, is still going to beg for trade with the United States because if not, they're losing a huge customer. I just don't think anybody can really do that. Like even if Trump puts up the tariffs, I don't think it's very realistic for either party to say that we're going to stop buying from another because we live in a world where everything's interconnected. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, sure, Trump wants to do that because he wants to be tough on China. But I don't think in practical terms, like it's going to be effective. Not because the tariffs won't work, but because it's like, the world is just how it is now. You can't avoid China. Like somebody was saying how if Trump puts up a tariff on China, like the cost of everything would go up, right? Because the sellers would offset those costs onto the buyers. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I do think one point is for sure is that you will see strategies from China to try to offset those things. Because one of the strategies they used to use, what they would do is they would compensate the manufacturers in China, subsidize them, right? But now because they're so economically not in the great shape as before, I wonder if the subsidy can still happen. So if in that case, we'll see. Maybe it will actually work. I don't know. I'm not too confident in it. You can avoid China if you're North Korean. Do you think America is headed towards the Chinese system in terms of ideology? Yeah, there's too many young kids believing in communism and socialism, thinking that it will work. Does the young filters really surprise you? Yeah, no, it's shocking to me. Oh my God. It's crazy. Anyways, I think we'll end the stream here. I need to go and eat lunch. I hope you guys do as well. So thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Next weekend, maybe we'll be back to streaming. Maybe not. It's the election season, so I'm gonna focus on doing my regular content stuff, so you guys can still catch that. But we'll see what happens next week. So yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Bye bye.